It's Wednesday, April the 2nd, 2025. I'm Jacob Payne. This is Things You Might Not Have Heard. And this is a bit different because as we ended today's recording, I realized that as I watched the audio recording with the timer on it in front of me, the video recording that I can't watch based on my setup right now wasn't rolling. So there's no video, air quotes, to give you. But if you put a picture behind something and run audio behind it, it becomes a video. So you have the audio feed for today with the static picture of the graphic image. That's a teaser graphic, so I apologize for that going forward. So all the reference to video pictures that are there won't be there because I don't have time to edit that way. And all the pauses and all the stops and all the coughs for the cough button will be there as well without any context. So apologies for that one, but we are going to make the best of what we have to make do what we can do with. So you'd still get the 8 stories plus all the promos. Please, please, please watch and listen to what's going on and get context and reply what's going forward. Now we will have going through for our feeds on TikTok and on YouTube the clips. I'm going to redo the clips parts for some of the stories, so we have some actual short clips, hot takes to do. And on Instagram, we're going to do on TikTok, we're going to have the rundown for the 8 stories for the day in the short version. So the 10-minute version will happen on TikTok in a few minutes after I get this thing edited and going. But apologies for today. I do have the audio recording and a picture to give you, so you still get the 8 stories or things to talk about. So if you're a person who listens to it and doesn't actually watch the clips, it's the same experience. If you're looking for clips, look for them later down the line. Apologies for this one. Apologies for taking a whole 2 minutes to even explain that. But thank you so much for sticking around with us. We will do better, and I will make sure I press the button tomorrow. This is Things You Might Not Have Heard. I am Jay Cleveland Payne. It is the 4th month, 2nd day, year 2025. That's April the 2nd, 2025, a Wednesday, and it's Liberation Day. So roll the stones away. Let everybody pay, because President Trump has an announcement at 3 o'clock Central Time, 4 o'clock Eastern, I believe, is going to have this happen, where all the tariffs go live then. But that's not the news for today. That's tomorrow. So we'll really get deeper into that tomorrow. But for this Wednesday, the 2nd of April, 2025, we have 8 stories queued up for you from yesterday that have already been passed that you called conversational. You said we're going to talk about. We'll do Liberation Day tomorrow. Today, these 8 stories were covering conversation topics that are informational, political, current eventical, and of course, pop cultural in their news coverage. And you told us what to talk about, including the April 1st elections, the big things that happen to be almost non-things. Cory Booker going very, 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 very long. And Marvin Sapp, the story that is a little old, but we're just now getting to it because it just won't go away. Plus 5 other stories for the morning, including some things that are really Trump adjacent, because they always are. We'll explain the vetting process after we go through the 8 headlines. But first, reminding you right now to get in on the goods by finding out about the Conversation Project at our website. This is theconversationproject.com for more details about the full offerings of the Conversation Project and some more Better Media LLC stuff as well. Plus, email us at theconversationinbox@gmail.com for any questions, comments, concerns. So go back and forth. This is not just me doing a highlight show or doing a recap of the news, although it is a recap of the news. This is a dialogue. You help us choose these stories. We're talking about things that you say are conversational. Let's get into the conversation for this day. No particular order for the stories. We'll give you some context on what stories may have more or less engagement. But right now, the top story is the one that overtook us overnight to find out, waking up to the reality that nothing actually has changed all that much. Donald Trump gets a mixed scorecard in his first election test in Florida and in Wisconsin. Now, Donald Trump won the election last year and became our new president in this year on the 20th of January, unfortunately. So we're 3 months into this whole thing. And right now, special elections to fill some spots and make up some gains in some places were his first test of what's going on. We won't have any midterm elections until next year, and that was going to be a real sort of nice little test for what's going on. But right now, filling 2 seats in Florida for some people who were lifted away to the administration, and filling a special seat on the Supreme Court in Wisconsin because there's a vacancy, to sort of play out things going forward. The elections came out to be exactly as they should have come out, or basically more or less the same. In Wisconsin, a liberal judge, Susan Crawford, won over the conservative Brad Schimmel, even though Donald Trump's pal, being Elon Musk, went into the state and paid a couple $1 million to try to get people to vote the way of Mr. Schimmel. It just didn't quite happen. Also in Florida, both the elections went to both of the Republicans, filling seats that were vacated by folks that have left the party left the state to go to Donald Trump's administration, work on the big team. So they pulled folks from the JV team that were basically the same guys. No real change. So essentially, it's all chalk. Just like this year's NCAA, all the number ones made it to the top in the men's Final Four. It's basically all chalk going forward. What does this actually mean for what's happening? It doesn't give us a good picture of what's happening with the Republican Party because it's basically status quo. The Wisconsin defeat was kind of a hard one because a lot of folks think that Trump could have pulled that off, and it will change the actual way things are done for constitutionally, at least for the Supreme Court in Wisconsin. It stays liberal leaning, so that means less things will fall more or less towards the Trump way, in a sense. But in Florida, everything stays the same. The same voting patterns are there. In fact, the reason why Lisa Stefanik was pulled away from being UN ambassador because they were so worried about missing on votes because they thought maybe her special election or her placement would be placed with someone who would be a Democratic and would skewer that going forward. Right now, at least for the time being, until they have the real big test, which will be the midterms, everything stays the same. So they still have a bit of a fight with the liberals in Wisconsin if they have to have things on constitutional levels up there. But as far as the votes go, nothing changes yet. Going really long, 25 hours long, if you will, as Cory Booker breaks the record for the longest Senate speech, surpassing Strom Thurmond's 24-hour and I think 20-minute speech from back in the day. And it's about time. Records are made to be broken, and some take a long time to get there, but this is one, especially in these times we live in, that may mean a little bit more. Now, this doesn't quite make Cory Booker the leader of the Democratic Party yet and doesn't make him the front runner for president in 4 years. But this new record for continuous speech on the U.S. Senate is history-making, 25 hours and 5 minutes, going from March 31st to April 1st of 2025. Surpasses the previous record, which was 24 hours and 18 minutes, held by Strom Thurmond, who was filibustering against the Civil Rights Act of 1957. So that's how long ago this has been out there. But this wasn't an actual filibuster because there was no legislation there. But Booker could hold the floor as a way of protesting just to keep himself in the limelight, keep the message going, and keep things working. Now, it wasn't a straight 25-hour talk because that would have been impossible. What happens is Booker just went to speaking. If you're watching the video, you see Booker with his arms stretched out. I think he's doing a fishtail at this point right here. But again, at 7 o'clock on the 31st and went to 8:05 on the 1st, addressing various policies, various things, and having to keep talking most of the time. At some points, he could take questions on his talk, things people would ask him questions. So what would happen would be another senator will walk and ask a really long question, essentially give a very long statement that allow Booker to go get a snack, get some water, hit the restroom, and go, lift some weights and do some calisthenics, throw some water, put some water in a bowl of ice and put his face in it like that guy does. I guess he probably did as well. But he got a chance to get some rest in the time, but he was awake, he was standing, and he was going forward and speaking for the bulk of that 25 hours. So, what does this mean? Not very much, actually. It doesn't change a thing. But if you are a C-SPAN watcher, especially one thing that's missing about YouTube TV is it doesn't have C-SPAN, so we didn't have that live feed there. But C-SPAN had it on their website, on their feeds on YouTube, that you could see Cory Booker do the thing. And it was amazing if you can keep up with it. Now, like I said, it doesn't change anything status quo. Cory Booker's not going to take any more leadership roles. In fact, he's probably going to be a target from the short term for just doing this stunt. It is still a stunt. And in the longer term, if he decides to turn this into another round, maybe make himself the next viable guy to run for president in the next election, tried it a couple times before, hadn't quite worked yet. We'll see what happens going forward for Democrats, for all of us, and for Mr. Booker in the future. Did you know TikTok was going to be banned? Did you know it technically already is banned? Did you know Donald Trump actually saved the ban or saved TikTok from being banned days before he actually became president, even though it was supposed to go away the day before he became president? Did you know it hasn't actually lived up to its actual deal to not be banned yet? Well, if you knew all that stuff now, maybe you didn't know that Donald Trump's actually going to hold some meetings really, really soon on the sale of TikTok, as the ban is actually still out there on the table. These are going to happen essentially today sometime. While Liberation Day is happening, TikTok meetings will happen sometime today to talk about acquiring it from some various investors. Maybe somebody's ready to buy it this time. Maybe TikTok will offer up a valuation that's willing to be bought out for, or maybe they'll stall like Putin does. The meeting will come in light of the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversaries Controlled Applications Act, PAFSCA, or something like that, mandating the TikTok's parent ByteDance sell by April 5th, 2025, which is an extension from the one that said sell it by January 19th, 2025, based off of Donald Trump doing some negotiation. This is based on national security concerns, because that means ByteDance has all our data someplace, and China could say, can we have their data? And ByteDance can say, sure, here's their data. Because there's no thing that says they can't, and there's no reason why they wouldn't if things escalated. Some big firms, Oracle, Blackstone, Anderson Horses, have also expressed interest in buying TikTok. But so far, every time someone's thrown out an idea, TikTok's thrown out big monies that they can't really adjust for. They can't really say why they're worth this much, but they've made it nearly impossible to actually make it valuable for them. So the Oval Office participants will have J.D. Vance, also Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, and Director of Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. Basically, the Signal chat all in one room together. If ByteDance fails to secure this by April 5th, then essentially it could go away again. Now, you've probably seen plenty of commercials from people saying, this TikTok made my life. I've seen that commercial on the Danos guy so many times. It's like, I should start putting my TikTok videos of me with my seasoning on there, because maybe I can make some money there. We're already there for our news coverage, and it's not making us any money, but it is what it is. But TikTok may have an issue, and the issue may be it doesn't want to sell itself. So they're willing to go away, then sell itself. At least they were back in January. Let's see what happens if they can make this thing happen and give Trump a win on his negotiation going so far. And we have another story dealing in the world of Luigi Mangione. And nothing has actually happened in this case yet. We know about the little heart-shaped notes in his socks. We know about the perp walks. We know about him wanting a laptop to work on his defense, and all that stuff's happening. And he hasn't actually been charged on anything serious yet, because he's only been in court like maybe 30 minutes in the span of time he's actually been arrested. But OG-AG, the OG-AG, that being Pam Bondi, is saying they're going to go with the actual death penalty. Pam Bondi is formally directing the state prosecutors in Florida. It's basically saying, hey, Florida AG, work on this. Prosecutors going forward. It says Florida. I don't know why it says Florida. The editor got a wonky on this one. But the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, is basically saying it is time. Make this happen. If this thing goes to trial and he loses, we're going for the death penalty in this case. It's going to be a bit of an interesting thing going forward. So Mangione is on trial for shooting and killing a CEO of a healthcare company, one that is known for not being nice to its customers. And from that came a couple of days of a manhunt where everybody was like, who is this cute guy and can we save him? They found the cute guy and they don't think they're going to save him, but he's become a national figure for the fight against insurance companies, which is great when people should be actually complaining about insurance companies, but not so great when the people that they're using for their hero, their vessel, if you will, is a stone cold murderer that's on videotape killing the guy in cold blood, in the middle of the street, in the middle of the day, with witnesses, and then going to McDonald's to celebrate, essentially. So what does this mean going forward? I really don't know what it actually means, other than Pam Bondi saying we're going death penalty on this one. Now, as a person who is not a hater of the death penalty, but doesn't believe it's the deterrent that people want to say it is, it's a very serious punishment. I don't have a problem with this case going forward like this, because if it happens, it happens. It's not a big deal. But as a deterrent, the death penalty, which usually takes people 10 to 15 years to go through all of their appeals, many much longer, only to find that over time, many folks that have been put away 20 years ago will put away on false pretenses because somebody just wanted someone's head, and it just didn't work out that way going forward. In this case, we see the head, we see the face. Well, we'll see most of the face because he's mostly wearing a mask most of the time, of the person who did something, allegedly. So we'll see what happens with Mr. Mangione going forward, and if Pam Bondi will get her wish, and they will push for this one for the federal stuff. He still has state crimes to deal with, and he still has crimes in Pennsylvania. So he's got a lot of trials to go through. But essentially, death is on the table for the federal crimes per Pam Bondi. Not the Florida Attorney General. My robot editor got a little confused and got a couple stories mixed up. This is for the national state, for the actual big-time Attorney General of these here United States. Looks like we're going a little long today, and I apologize for that. Going long into the intro for Liberation Day, and of course, going really long with Cory Booker and the TikTok thing, and of course, the election. So I apologize for that. Those will probably make fairly good roundup things that you'll see in other media pieces, but we still need to take a quick moment of time to ask for your help. So I'll make up time here by just doing the quick rundown. Like the video you're watching right here so that I know I picked the right stories. I'm giving you good commentary and you're okay for this one time. It will not become a trend. Me going long in explanations and going into commentary on the things. We give you the facts, the big deals, and when we don't have the facts, we kind of work about as best as possible. We throw the robot editor on the bus a lot. And for that one, so you like it, it tells me I'm doing good. It tells the algorithm that we're doing good as well, and we'll show it to more people and grow our News Nerd Nation with more people involved. Share it directly with people who would enjoy this type of news coverage, getting a mix of things that aren't exactly the big mix that the mainstream media that your cable news is going to give you. The next bunch of stories you'll see, because these are stories that are conversational because you guys said they are, but not getting a lot of love on CNN, MSNBC, Fox, Newsmax, those things like that. And subscribe to us in whatever feed you like to, so you get our news, you get our coverage, you get our conversation to you directly, whether you're a YouTube fan, whether you're on Facebook or X, whether you want to get the clips on TikTok or the short version. We do this in like a 10-minute version on TikTok. So if you think I'm talking too long here, go to TikTok. You'll find me somewhere in your For You feed. So check that out and subscribe as well. Like, share, subscribe. Help us grow the News Nerd Nation to greater heights. We are right at 2,000 followers on YouTube. We've had a slow couple of weeks where we're not getting that momentum, but we did hit that cusp of that number. Thank you so much for helping us get that far. Let's go to work on doubling that, shall we? Let's move on to back to the news. And here's a story where we get more detail that doesn't really make the story better, but we actually get some answers. You may not like them. ICE says that the University of Minnesota student who lost her visa was due to a DUI and not due to any protest. Now, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that's ICE, detained Dukan Gudandin, a 28-year-old Turkish graduate student from the University of Minnesota Carlson School of Management, citing a prior conviction for driving under influence as the reason for the visa revocation. Not anything protest-related, but essentially it was for the DUI, getting that arrest. They were arrested on March 27, 2025, and by plainclothes officers outside his residence, residence, while en route to class. According to a legal petition, he was unaware of the reason of his arrest at the time. Approximately 7 hours after his detention, the Department of Homeland Security actually revoked his student visa, citing the prior DUI conviction as justification. Okay, so I got confused. This is a different case that we put out there than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was one that was already highly publicized. This is another person who's lost their visa and it's becoming a highly public thing, but this is one that has a reason behind it. This is not someone who necessarily engaged in protest, political speech, anything like that, or actually organized anything going forward. This is someone who did something wrong, and because of that, they didn't overstep the bounds. They had grounds to pull the visa. So now the political issues of this one, whether it's actually warranted of the visa pulling or not, right now with the heightened sense of pulling people's information. Yes, they did send a guy from the States who was a legal person here to the prison in El Salvador. He was not a gang member, but they can't bring him back because they say he's still a gang member. But this is a case where they're doing all the things, and right now trying to do things literally by the book. They're trying to tell you exactly what's going on. They're giving you the due process that they had, due process from the conviction from the DUI, and now the reason why he's losing his actual credentials. We'll see how this one plays out in deeper court, whether he will be sent to Louisiana and then on to wherever they're going to send him next. These stories are not going away. Here's a story that's definitely not going away, as well as the implosion, the fall, the ending of the Daily Wire. And we're not quite there yet. We can't quite predict this demise or at least talk about its funeral and dirt on its coffin. But there are some issues with the company right now as layoffs are beginning following Jerry Boring's, the CEO, leaving as CEO of that company. The company that is founded by Ben Shapiro, which is known for, of course, being a conservative stalwart, I guess, and although losing some juice right now, and of course helping us spawn some more security for one Candace Owens, is initiating layoffs following the recent resignation of its CEO. Jerry Boring stepped down to focus on some other creative projects. He is I would say, just like I say, I'm a failed talk show host. He's a failed executive in Hollywood, but he was able to do some things with the company there at Daily Wire that made things happen, including making a version of Snow White, a non-white woke version of Snow White, and of course, Lady Ballers and other things as well. Layoffs has particularly impacted the company's children's programming division, where Kevin McCurry, the former lead video editor of the department, indicated that the entire team was laid off for that. Spokesperson for Daily Wire stated layoffs are part of a better effort to align its resources with business priorities and growth areas. That's a quote I butchered, but emphasizing that decision was based on business needs and operational efficiencies. They don't have the money to do this stuff, so we have to cut what's not working, and right now, the children's stuff is what's being cut. Despite changes, co-founder Shapiro addressed the company's status, labeling rumors of financial struggles as bizarre and BS, saying, well, we're doing fine, but we have to do some work to make sure we are shored up, make sure we are strong. There you go. Believe what you want to believe. All media companies, whether new media, old media, or something like this, are having issues with the finances right now. And a lot of that has to do with the administration and the question marks that are going on in actual economics that are beyond our control. But a lot of it is, however you get your sales, however you get your views or clicks, however you make your money is a big deal right now. And Daily Wire seeing some issues with its viewership, especially after the release of Candace Owens, is having its issues as well. Jeffrey Boeing stepping down, and we'll see what happens as they look to right their ship over there in Shapiro Land. Baseball season is here, and based on your engagement, we're going to talk a lot of baseball this season. Baseball, with its very long season in the summer where there's literally nothing else going on except for reality shows and some reruns and things like that. I guess everything's rerun now with streaming, is going to be a big stalwart because you guys are engaging in stories very early now. Now, we know that the Dodgers are awesome. We know that the Yankees have new bats that make them seem awesome. We know the Braves suck already, which doesn't mean they're out yet, but we also know they cheat, which is something, unfortunately, I have to admit. We also know the A's are off to a rough start in their new temporary home before they get their permanent home. The Oakland Athletics are now living temporary in Sacramento before they move on to their new home in Las Vegas. And they opened up into a very good-sized minor league park, a very good-looking minor league park. And they opened up in Sutter Heath Park to face the Chicago Cubs. And they lost 18-3 in their home opener, their temporary home opener going forward. Now, I can go into details of the game, but that's really terrible. Plus, this makes it a whole lot of time, so we'll do that here as well.
We can play detective.
For folks listening to audio, this is going to be very weird going back further. But there are a lot of technical issues with the actual problems going forward that made the game itself kind of there. The radio broadcast didn't work out for the Athletics, and there are issues for the feed for the Cubs English feeds and the Spanish broadcast feed for the Athletics, and just other things inside the stadium. Essentially, they weren't quite ready for the big time, although they were fairly well stocked for happening the crowds and managing the game. The actual technology in the stadium needs a little bit of help going forward with that one. Makeshift accommodations will have to be pushed up a bit. And MLB wants to make sure the A's get all the love they can before they get into the actual big-time show in Las Vegas. We'll take good care of them once they get there. Capacity of the stadium is 13,416, and it got 12,192 in the first shot. So basically filling the stadium the first time, and knowing that you can only get about a third of your normal crowd into the field is part of the problem. And they're in Sacramento, which is part of the problem. But when they get to Vegas and they get to the big times, hopefully the play will be great, and hopefully the stadium will be awesome. But we'll see what goes on as expansion, moving, whatever you want to call it, happens for the big leagues. I foresee a lot of baseball talk this summer, which will be a bit interesting because baseball is the slog of summer sports. And finally, a story we're finally getting to. Yes, Christine with a K, we're finally getting to it. This is a story that's actually older than you believe because, believe it or not, the story is a viral thing that happened like a year or so ago. But gospel star Marvin Sapp is now speaking out against all he's getting from the viral video of him telling folks to lock the doors until I get $40,000, which isn't exactly what was said. Now, the viral clips are going out on Marvin Sapp doing a sermon or doing a performance, a preaching thing at his church years back. So this happened a while ago. So, but we're just now seeing it in viral fashion here and being taken out of context, fortunately, unfortunately. So that means big time talk for Marvin Sapp. So he's getting a bigger exposure toward the world. Not the best exposure you probably want, but sometimes, as the president says, publicity is publicity. You take it as you can. What we have here is in the middle of a sermon, speaking of what was going on. He wanted to do what churches do: ask for money, raise money. It's what churches do. It's what black churches do. It's what all churches do. They ask for money. The biggest complaint about going to church is the fact they're always asking for money, and the accountability is sort of suspect. And why does a gospel recording artist who people assume has millions and millions of dollars with that big time Spotify money need to ask all this money for his little bitty church? Well, he did. And so what happened was he told the ushers to close the doors. Close the doors. Closed the doors. Basically said and went to the point of saying to the effect, we're not leaving until we raise $40,000. You got $25. You got $25. You got $25. So doing a thing like that. In context, it turned into Marvin Sapp locked the doors on people and didn't leave till they raised $40,000. That's what it turned into. It wasn't quite that. I'm not sure if he actually raised the money. The notes have gotten lost, so I'm looking at the notes for Coyote versus Acme, so I'm pulling this from my head, so I'm trying to make sure I don't overdo this one. But he was able to, like many times go in some sort of revival type sessions, get people to offer up money, and even this day where it's all Cash App and credit cards, get people roused up and get people hyped up for donating for what he was asking for there. He didn't lock anyone in. Now, here's something that you don't maybe think about in some of these churches. Some of these churches, which have been in very bad places, and some things just sort of the protocol, at various points of church, and at my church, which is sort of hippie-ish, it's big auditorium, but just kind of wandering back. People wandering all the time, just get up and walk around. In traditional type of churches, when things are happening, you close the doors. When prayer is happening, there's an usher that shuts the doors and you stay outside until they're done with praying. When they are going into specific worship type of things, you shut the doors and the usher stands there and looks at you funny and you wait until they're done with the thing. And when offering is being passed, they shut the doors because it's a sacred thing and it's going on. It's also a secure thing. It also makes sure that somebody doesn't jump in there, try to steal any money and run out. So there's that. So in a matter of safety, more or less, Marvin Sapp told the congregation, because he was asking for essentially an extraneous offering, like at the moment, to shut the doors so that no one can come in, come out, no one could disrupt what was going on, and no one could have any, ideas coming forward. That's what basically happened. That's not what we're saying on social media, but that's what's basically what happened. You can agree, disagree. You can comment if you want to based on this one. And you can tell me what pieces I missed out because, like I said, I don't have the actual notes in front of me, my notes that I have for my script. I did not actually copy and paste that actual story into it. I'm looking at John Cena being in the Wile E. Coyote movie. So, yeah, John Cena's in the Wile E. Coyote movie. But Marvin Sapp also did a thing, and he's gone viral for it. But it's something that he did a few years back. We're just now talking about it now. The nature of fame, and we're just not getting into it, although it's maybe a 3-week-old story as it's been gaining on social media. I just now put in there now, and you guys apparently want to talk about it because you gave it plenty of love and engagement to get it there. Now, engagement. What does that mean? So we're at the part where we talk about our teaser section. We're going to tease this headline right here to talk about coming forward, and it's Val Kilmer's death. So we'll probably actually not talk about that tomorrow, but let's talk about how teaser stories work and how all stories work to get into the feeds for the Conversation Project. What we do is we share with you news articles every 50 minutes or so on various from various news platforms on our feeds on Facebook and X. Facebook.com/This Is the Conversation Project and X.com/TH_conversation. And we're looking for your engagement because this is a conversation, a dialogue with you and I, and not just a monologue of me looking at the trending stories and pulling them down. Or me just watching whatever's coming on way too early on MSNBC. Love me some Ali Vitale, and just doing her rundown because I got up earlier than you did. These are stories that you deem as conversations. These stories you think they should be talked about, and we put them here. So yes, we talk about the elections last night because they're big deals that affect us all. We talk about Cory Booker. We talk about Liberation Day, and more of that tomorrow as we find out what Liberation Day actually entails around 4 o'clock Eastern time today. But we also throw in stories from all over the place to fill the gaps, see what's going on, and see what you guys want to talk about going forward. You engage in the stories. You hit the button for the right emoji. You hit the reply button and tell me some nice words or some not so nice words. We can do that as well. The more engagement a story gets, share it with many folks out there as well. The more engaged a story gets, the better chance we have of talking about it tomorrow. We'll pick 8 stories from the top half of stories that we get for today, about 30 so stories in the span of time. And we will take 8 and give them to you in this rundown form for Thursday morning. Now, the story we are spotlighting today is the passing last night of Val Kilmer. We went ahead and posted it in there, and it's in there, and it should be out there live, whether you're watching this in the live feed or in the future. It will be out there because it's a very early posting. We got it in there, just couldn't get in there before we did the write-ups for this morning. So Val Kilmer passed away, known for being Top Gun, Iceman, known for fighting Iceman in Batman Forever, and being everybody's Huckleberry in Tombstone, Doc Holliday. Started off in Real Genius, or actually started off before that, but Real Genius, one of the cult classics there. Started off in Top Secret. I love that movie. That movie was awesome. Played on Movie Channel like every 20 minutes or so. It would start, I guess, every 20 minutes is an exaggeration. But the passing of Val Kilmer, who actually told folks he was fine, and told folks, oh, by the way, I did have cancer. That's why my voice is doing that. Able to keep on doing some acting, keep on being in good spirits, and keep on being a fairly good guy. People thought the Iceman exterior was him. It definitely was not. Many folks sent their love, their prayers, their flowers to him on his passing. We could talk about this as a larger story tomorrow if you guys engage in it enough and it fights out the other stories. If not, I think we gave Val Kilmer plenty of flowers for the day. Putting extra work in for getting Liberation Day in before it actually happens, and Val Kilmer in before we had a chance to really get him in the votes. I think we did a good job today. Teasing aside. Now, the teaser story for yesterday was Pete Hegseth, as he was ordering fitness standards to be gender neutral for all combat jobs. We'll probably do something on that in a bigger detail later on. It did not make the ranks for here, so we're not going to get anything in the replays or in the weekly wrap roundups or anything like that. But we'll probably talk about something that as this comes back forward again, as Hegseth is running the military, running the Department of Defense the way he's going to good or ill based on what's happening out there. We're going to stick with Very Boring Business Advice as our sponsor for today. It was sort of last minute crammed in there, so it wasn't the most spectacular way we could do to really promote ourselves. In fact, we should do better jobs of fixing that one. But we're going to talk about Very Boring Business Advice. It's a website that you can find at veryboringbusinessadvice.com, oddly enough, and the newsletters that go along with it that tell the stories of how stocks look like throughout the week. We have 2 newsletters in the feed: 6 stocks to watch and the market week that was. Now, also at the website, we post a weekly article that talks about investing or savings or things you can do for keeping your appearances with your money. Those you listening to the audio, we have a lot of gaps today, so apologies for that. We don't have time to edit down the feeds that much because we're short on time. But I am not a stock market analyst. I am not a broker. I don't have a license. I'm not trying to be. I do use Robinhood as one of the sponsors. And if you use Robinhood and use our affiliate link at thisistheconversationproject.com/Robinhood, you can get a chance to buy the stocks on your own and use some of the advice we're giving you here to get that. Now, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, we give you 6 stocks to watch, which looks at 6 stocks and how they closed previously and what they're looking like in the meantime. Like over the past 10 days, they've been up, they've been down, there've been some sort of significant buy, sell, and what they do. These are stocks that, for all practical purposes, might as well be random, but I go through many a list of stocks and see what's going on, make a list of things, and as they come by, we kind of see which ones are doing something, moving up, moving down, not doing anything of import, and they're being presented to you as possibly non-regular stocks for you. Sometimes they're the big ones, sometimes they're the small ones, but these are stocks that you may not have seen before and that may not be on your radar, or these are stocks that might be the right time to get into, remind you that they are there at the moment. The market week that was a wrap-up of the market week that happens on Saturday. We pulled that Friday afternoon. It gives you the closing of 5 of the main markets, also a wrap-up of how the week worked in the markets, how the money worked in general, and 5 to 6 stocks that were big outstanding stocks to look at, whether they did up, down, or whatever in the past week. So you get that from that newsletter, and they all come on the same feed in your new email feed, or you can get them at the website veryboringbusinessadvice.com. The website link for the actual landing page is there in your link, or you can click on the link for newsletters at the website and get it there as well. Doesn't do very much. There are some sponsorship things there that it reminds you that Robinhood powers their sites and things like that. And if you want to go to Robinhood and click the links and use our affiliate link, this is conversationproject.com/Robinhood or veryboringbusinessadvice.com/Robinhood, and use that link to get in on the deals there. They still give you free stock. We get a small commission for getting you in there, and you can buy your stocks on your own and be your own advisor, get your own IRAs, get all their big new tools that are really cool to use for investing and savings as well. So check it out. It is Very Boring Business Advice. We're pushing the newsletters and the website. Go to the website, the veryboringbusinessadvice.com, or click the link inside of this presentation and the details that has the link to the landing page, and you can get in on the information. This is now all stock information for education purposes only. I am not a stock analyst. I am not an advisor. I'm not a licensed seller of securities. These are not actually intentions for you to buy, sell, or hold anything particular. These are just some stocks and some information that you may not know that you can do what you want with them. Disclaimer aside, let's get on to the wrap up as we're running along, obviously, with the Conversation Project's promo section. Go to our website. This is theconversationproject.com and find out all you want to about us at the Conversation Project. We have our origin story. We have prior episodes. We have links to our sponsors, more sponsors. We have links to our partnership page. If you want to help us financially and be a part of the board of directors, if you will, consider being a partner and get your say in that will. The biggest thing is there is a financial commitment, not much, but it helps us pay the bills and do more things here. And of course, make sure you are following us on the feeds on Facebook and X, to make sure that we know what stories to talk about in the future. Any problems, any comments, any complaints, any concerns you have, they can be taken up with management via email, conversationinbox@gmail.com. Wrapping it up for this Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025. I am Jay Cleveland Payne. I thank you for all that you do for us, everything, watching the video, especially if you've made it this far, sharing our stuff out there with folks who like this type of news coverage, news gathering, and the conversations, even the ones that aren't so nice to me. I enjoy having the fact to see how people actually react to various news stories out there. Some of them very surprising, some of them not so surprising, even if they're not so nice to me. Follow us on our feeds and consider being a partner, and make sure you're staying limber, staying hydrated, and staying on task for all the grand things you are here to do for this place. Make sure that your world and your life continues to run as a marathon and not a sprint. Love you so much. Mean it all together. Let's get out of here for this Wednesday. A lot of things to do to have a great Wednesday. Join you together again in this forum again tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of Things You Might Not Have Heard.